Hey, we're here with Chauncey Solomons. He is a lieutenant and task force officer with the DEA from the Hampton County Sheriff's Office. Another one of our candidates for sheriff here in Hampton County. Chauncey, appreciate you being with me, bud.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
So what we're
Thank
going to do is we're going to talk about your plans for the future for the sheriff's office if you're able to be elected sheriff.
Okay.
And in doing so, I want to start off by just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and give us a layout of your law enforcement career.
Okay. Like I said, my name is Chauncey Solomon. I was born and raised here in Hampton County. Born and raised in Furman, South Carolina.
Big city of Furman.
Big city of Furman. I'm 50. I'll be 54 years old this year. Just a long residence of Hampton County. I attended the public schools of Elster, the south side of the county. Graduated from Elster High School. Went on to the Technical College of the Low Country for criminal justice. And from there, worked some jobs. But of course, my passion is in law enforcement. So in 1995, I went to work for Sidney Dupree, who was the sheriff of Hampton County at that time. From there, I went up through the ranks, started out in the jail, and went through all various of law enforcement. Patrol division. From there, while I was on patrol division, I got promoted to investigator to go into narcotics, and I worked narcotics. Then while I was in narcotics, worked courtroom security, K9 bloodhound tracking team, SWAT, went to SWAT school also, and just then eventually got promoted to sergeant and went to work as a criminal investigator. So with that being said, I went through all the phases of law enforcement, and in 2010, the federal government came here working a case that I assisted them with, and I assumed I did some really good things. So they recruited me to become a task force officer. Didn't know what it was at the time. And one of the special agents who worked with the DEA, he was like, you will go through a background check. And if you able to pass the background check, you have to have a top security clearance. And if you pass that, you will get deputized, take an oath, and you become a task force officer, and you will work along special agents for the DEA, and you work all over the country with an emphasis on Hampton County and the surrounding area, the whole eastern seaboard. So for the last 12 years, that's what I've been doing, along with working for the sheriff's office. And it's been a really good career. 27 years I've been in law enforcement and been all over the country, once to Mexico. So I just thank God for my journey, and I believe it prepared me for this moment.
Okay. Well, let's get into some of the questions we have. Right now in Hampton County, of course, a lot of people are talking about finances and budgets and things like that. So tell me your plan to try to keep the sheriff's office in budget.
Well, there are a certain kind of principles that every man should live. Don't spend more than you got coming in.
Yeah,
basic, simple arithmetic. The Bible also teaches us that a man seeks the office of a leadership. You should have these fundamentals already. You should run your house well. A man who got the integrity and the know-how to stay in the budget and make sure your house is doing well. And if you can't do that at home, there's no way you can do it for our people's money. I believe I have those attributes. I run my household. I pay all my bills, and I'm in good standings. Okay. My wife has no clue about what bills we have because I run my house and I pay my bills. And as you know, you sold me a house back in 2006, and so a little over halfway of completing that mission, which was a 30-year loan.
Right.
So you have to take care of your home. And then when it comes to the people's money, you just put yourself in the right position, you hire the right people, and you stay in budget.
Okay.
Don't spend more than you got coming in.
Right. And now I think being working with you guys for 20 plus years, we know the sheriff's office, when they are over budget, a lot of times it's overtime.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your plan to either limit overtime, or how are you going to structure overtime?
Well, I'm going to structure overtime based on need. I believe, there are times where you may need to have overtime. And of course, just like anything else, like we just discussed, you just make sure that it's not being abused, and you make sure that you're in budget, whether you have quarterly meetings with your support staff or with your command staff. You just have to make sure that you're doing everything possible to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to when it comes to the people's money.
Right.
However, and I say this, however, if there is an issue because of it, overtime being misspent, or because of some disaster or some event that took place that we had to use overtime, I think it's the job of the sheriff to go to the people of Hampton County and explain, if I am over budget, this is the reason why, because of a mass shooting or triple homicide or whatever it is. You just always be transparent, and you be upfront, and you cannot go wrong.
Gotcha.
And I also, is another thing that I want to do to be able to make sure that we getting out the right information to the citizens of Hampton County. I want to create, as sheriff, I want to create a sheriff advisory committee. We have 18 precincts in this county, and I want to have an advisory committee based on every individual precinct. Maybe 20 people that I want to do. I want to vet them properly. I want to take them through a background check, and I want to swear them in with me when I take office. And by doing that, they're gonna be the voice of the citizens of this county. Whatever information I need to get out, I'm gonna have monthly meetings with them and give them information. Some may be sensitive, and because I went and did the vetting process, they'll be able to have that information. And whatever the citizens of Hampton County feel as though we are not doing, I want these people to give me feedback. Say, you good at this, but you're not good at that. I think the sheriff, if as an elected sheriff, I think that needs to go back to the people.
Right.
And that's one of the key things that I've been running on in my platform. I want to give the sheriff's office back to the community with that advisory committee.
I love that. And then, so that's going to tie right into our next question: is how do you look to structure your department? What kind of divisions are you going to have?
Mm-hmm.
What type of manpower are you going to have to increase manpower on the road, so to speak, and to cut down on response times?
Well, response time is, I think I did a study through Department of Justice, and what I see is Orangeburg County, for instance. Orangeburg County got almost 150,000 residents. They got maybe 120 deputies, and they only got maybe 3 to 4 people working patrol division. So it's a big misconception if you got 2 to 3 people in this county working patrol division that it's a bad thing. It's actually not. If you got 3 people, I think with 3 people, and you also got criminal investigation on call, narcotics who's working also, I think you would have plenty of coverage. This is we in this county, we got like less than 19,000, or right at 19,000 residents in this county. You cannot stack the patrol division that you can't have other coverage in the other divisions. Say, for instance, criminal investigations. We need quality criminal investigations officers or detectives. We need narcotics investigators. We need patrol investigations. You have to consider SROs, courtroom security. All those things has to have people who are assigned to those things too. If you overstack patrol, then you're not going to have the capability of being able to meet the needs of all the other things that the sheriff's office got going on.
Right.
So that's my plan. I want to do basically sheriff's office, command staff, criminal investigations, narcotics investigations, SROs, courtroom security, the basic needs of what the sheriff's office do. And with that being said, I think we can do it. And some of those jobs are going to have to be lateral because I'm a firm believer being a SWAT guy, went to SWAT school, SWAT commander for a while here at the sheriff's office. We have to be ready in case of a big bad wolf come knocking at your door. And that means having a response team ready to go into wherever, whether it's a school, whether it's in this building, in a supermarket. We have to be prepared.
Right.
So we have to have the personnel to do that. So a lot of these jobs going to have to be lateral. Same thing with K9, bloodhound tracking team. Those people have other jobs, but they still have to come and be a part. It ain't just this small rural area. It's all over the country. You have to be able to use what you got and be able to have lateral positions. So that's my plan.
Okay, and so in your plan, you have a narcotics division.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that there's a drug problem in Hampton County? And if so, what is your plan on just the drug issue to address it?
Well, that's my specialty, I guess you know.
Oh, yeah, of course.
This is what I do, not only here, all over the country, for that matter. And it is a problem. Not only here, in Allendale, Jasper, Beaufort, Charleston, Dorchester, is all over the state, all over the country for that matter. But we have to continue to fight what we've been doing. Over the last 12 years, we've made a lot of good strides on what we've been doing when it comes to narcotics. Narcotics is one of those divisions that they're not in the limelight. Me working narcotics, we probably make maybe 25, 30, maybe 40 arrests per year. But it's all under the radar. We do our job. We give the numbers to the sheriff, and we go on about our business, trying to go back to the next people, trying to keep it down.
Right.
You're not going to stop the problem, but it's a continuous fight.
All right. Do you think there's something, and do you have something in your platform to try to head off some of the drug issues with our youth? Maybe programs in the school or anything like that?
Well, like I said, this is what I do. And by working with the DEA, one of the things that I learned, and over my tenure, is you cannot arrest your way out of this. I'm literally, just as fast as you put people in jail for selling narcotics, there's 2 or 3 more to take its place. So it has to be a double-edged sword to fight that. One, you continue to put the bad guys in jail. I'm a firm believer. There's no one that put more people in jail than Chauncey Solomon in Hampton County for narcotics. Bottom line, no questions asked. But you have to educate the youth. SROs are the new DARE officers.
Right.
That's a common thing. I'm doing the DARE officers. I'm doing this DARE thing. SROs took the place of DARE. DARE is an obsolete thing, in my opinion. DARE was placed in here in the 80s because there was no SROs. They wanted to put officers in the school to be able to teach kids the dangers of drugs. Since then, the government, we got an SRO, the sheriff's office, have an SRO, which is a school resource officer in every school in this county. Their job are to educate the youth about the dangers of drugs and any other crime, whether it's exploitation of kids, cyber crimes, so much that the SROs are trained. That's their job to do that. So my plan is to make sure that our SROs, along with the rest of the deputies, make sure that they are capable, they are trained properly, to meet the needs, whatever the need is, whether it's drugs or whatever the needs is. That's the job of an SRO, to educate our youth. And I'm gonna take it a little step further. I think we need to educate the parents, because I believe the parents is a big issue too. Because the kids may know, but if the parents don't know, where are we going? So we have to educate the parents. We have to have these community forums. I had one maybe about 6 months ago at Vaughnville at the church. Pastor Tommy Kelly allowed me to come along with DEA, and we had an opiate abuse town hall meeting. We need to do more of those things. We need to educate the parents and the youth so we can fight this major fight that we got going on here, not only in this county, but in this country. I'm going to give you some statistics. We had, since 1999, we had over 1 million people die from opiate abuse. Did you realize that?
I knew it was a lot. I didn't know it was exactly that much.
You a veteran or a Marine. That's more people died than all the wars that this country ever been in combined. Those numbers are crazy. But that's what we're facing in this country. And we have to figure it out, not only as law enforcement, but as a community, to fight this. It takes more than me. It takes more than the sheriff who we have now or any other law enforcement. If anybody who's running for a public office, they tell you that they have the magic pill, they're just telling you that because they're running for office. There is no magic pill. But we can do it together. The advisory committee, with my expertise and my continuous training for me and my deputies, that's what's going to make a difference.
Gotcha. So now, another thing we see is, basically the revolving door in law enforcement at the sheriff's office, at the police departments, surrounding counties. What are your plans to attract good quality candidates for sheriff's deputies and to retain them?
Well, it's all about pay.
It's all about the money.
Pay. We get what we can afford.
Right.
If you want an old beat up Ford, that's what you're gonna get. But if you want good quality people, you have to be able to pay them. In my opinion, moving forward as sheriff, I think it's crucial that our sheriff enforce the laws. He has to be a good communicator. He has to be able to go to council. He has to be able to have lunch with these guys. You have to be able to negotiate some better wages for us. And I know we're in a budget crunch. We got a lot going on in this county right now. But we have got to figure out a way, whether it's through funds from the federal government or whatever, we've got to figure out a way to recruit and pay better. Jasper County right now, they pay $51,000 a year starting out. Brand new deputy with no experience, they're going in the door at $51,000.
What'd you start at, 18 or so, 13?
16,000 when I started.
Yeah.
Right now, here in Hampton County, we have deputies who only make $30,000 a year, or maybe some of them 28, 29. We got to figure out a way that we can pay these guys. If you pay these guys, they are less likely to leave. And then we educate them and train them properly. It's going to make us a better county. It's going to make our sheriff's office a better place. I have all intentions of doing that, because I want our sheriff's office to move in a positive way, move up. And if you're going to do that, you have got to recruit and have better wages. I believe in task force. I'm a product of a task force officer. It changed my life. The sheriff took a little boy from here in Hampton County, where I thought I knew about law enforcement. But then I went to work for the federal government on this DEA task force, working alongside people who are so smart. And I've learned so much by being on that task force. I've learned that some of the things that we do, we can do a lot better. Quality law enforcement, we need to get to that point. task force officer is the way to go. Not only is the way to go, it's the future. If we can retain a DEA task force officer and expand and get a FBI task force officer, it'll be unlimited what we can do. It reminds me, we had a triple homicide some years back. Just imagine, I was a DEA task force officer. I came and assist. I was able to call my office, make phone calls, to manipulate some of the systems that we can use, that phone numbers that we've been getting. We were able to take care of that, speed things up. If we had a gentleman or a woman on the FBI task force, the FBI itself, along with the crime scene people, they would have came here in Hampton County and assist us in those triple homicides.
So it cuts through some of the red tape.
Yes, and you got special agents from the FBI here. And guess what? The best thing is, it's no cost to the taxpayers. There's no cost to the taxpayers for me to be attached to this task force. And it would be the same thing for the FBI. But you will have that quality of law enforcement helping Hampton County, rural Hampton County, make it much better. And our resources are much better. That's the future of small rural counties. We don't have the budgets of Beaufort County. We don't have the budgets of Charleston County. But having that resource to be attached, to be a little brother of the FBI, a little brother of the DEA, you tell me, anybody who's listening, where that can go wrong.
Right. Well, let's get into a couple of policy and procedure type things. Basically, two questions for you. One is, we get a lot of complaints, and being in law enforcement with you for 20 plus years, I understand some of why we do this, but we get a lot of complaints about deputies' cars being seen outside of the county. Mm-hmm. What is your policy, or what is going to be your policy on it? What's your thoughts on it?
Well, it depends on what you mean outside the county. If it's, you meaning people who live outside the county?
Let's look at both. Living out of the county, or just on their day off, they decide they want to ride to Savannah and they go in their patrol car. Give me your overview on what your policy is going to look like.
Well, I totally disagree with all of them. When I first started thinking about people living outside of Hampton County, I wasn't for it. I thought we should recruit and retain people who live here in Hampton County.
They got a vested interest in how things turn out.
I agree, but however, I've changed from that because of budget issues and because of reality. It may be somebody in Allendale County who specializes in something. Say, for instance, there's a gentleman in Allendale County who's have the potential of coming to work for us, who have all these expertise in something, and we have a potential of getting him to make Hampton County better. I'm all for that. So it's a move. It's like on an individual basis. As sheriff, I think the citizen has to trust the sheriff. If it's somebody that he feels that can make his department better for the ultimate goal to make Hampton County better, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Okay.
But however, I understand where people are talking about, because it's their money. It's their money, and you need to be concerned about it. Now, when it comes to going to the grocery store or going to the mall in Charleston, I think those things need to be reined in. Okay. You shouldn't be in your car going to if you just in a patrol car going to the mall in Savannah, that's another state.
Right.
Those things, it shouldn't happen. Unless that you're there for other businesses. You have to, say for instance, you need some training. And if you want to stop by the mall, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But just going to the mall, no, I totally disagree. And those are the things that we can work on. Having an advisory committee is really going to help rein some of those things in. Because if it's negative publicity, if it's a negative light that the citizens are feeling that something is wrong, I'm expecting that advisory committee to
bring that to you.
Bring it to my attention. And I will address it. But I want the citizens to know, trust me. That's why I'm one of the only candidates who have not not publicly endorsed my chief deputy, because I want the citizens to support, to elect me because of my name, because you trust me, not because of my chief, not because of the person who I say that I'm going to hire or this, that, and other. Trust me. And I want you to trust me that I'm going to make the right decision for our people's money and all our resources here in Hampton County.
I think you're going to tie right into the second question, and it's the other complaint you see a lot of times is, and this is not just sheriff's deputies, but since we're talking about sheriff's office, how are you going to handle complaints of deputies speeding when they're not actually on a call? Now, again, with our background, we know that not every call that you go to is going to warrant lights and sirens, but you still got to get there fast, and so you're going to break the speed limit. But what they're talking about more so is just nothing's going on, but I'm riding 55 and a deputy flies by me at 80. How are you going to handle those types of
situations? Well, I'm going to change the policy. We live in a time now where law enforcement officers, they're being scrutinized. And I think it should be. You and I, when we grew up in law enforcement on patrol, that's what we were taught. And in actuality, it's time to outgrow that. It's time to move on from that.
All right, so you're going to change the policy. What's the new policy?
My new policy, this is what my policy will look like. If you're responding to a call, if it's nothing that you not required to run code 3,
lights and sirens for all of you.
Lights and sirens. I'm expecting you, if you're responding to a call and if you're exceeding the speed limit, that you activate your hazard lights. That way, the citizens of Hampton County won't look at you in a bad light, that you just abusing the power and just driving down the road. And we have to get away from that. We ask people to abide the law, and we break the laws in some instances. There are instances where we're responding to call, but you know as well as I know, perception is everything.
Absolutely.
It's all what people perceive. And you cannot have citizens of Hampton County perceiving that we're breaking the law and you can't. So, in my administration, they will drive the speed limit unless they responding to a call. You will see some form of lights on if they're responding to a call.
Okay. Now we're going to shift a little bit away from policy and procedure, and this is more on an economic development type thing. So I'm a business owner now, an entrepreneur. What do you think your office can do to increase economic growth in Hampton County, to attract more people and businesses to come and live and work here?
Be a more professional, a better trained law enforcement agency. We have to be that way. That's the only way that you're going to attract. And it takes education from other specters in the government also. But I do believe, first you have to look good. We have to be well represented in the way we look, whether it's the patrol car, whether it's the uniform of a sheriff deputy. And we have to be trained properly. Obviously, I'm at an agency now, the government, the DEA, but that's all we do. We train. And what I've learned from them is what I'm going to do here. One of the things that I was able to do with our narcotics division is we run our narcotics division here in Hampton County parallel with what the DEA does. Total professional. Everything they do, we do here. We have to be better when it comes to training. Prime example, I'm gonna give the listeners this one example. Here in Hampton County, we go to the range one time a year. DEA, every 3 months for 8 hours.
Once a quarter.
We train day and night. That's what we do. So those little things like that will set the standards for what we do here in Hampton County. That's my intentions, to run the sheriff's office parallel with an agency like a DEA.
Good. All right, so we're going to shift gears a little bit here to another hot topic, and that's on mass shootings and school shootings. So we got a couple of questions for you here on it. So, do you think, and this is just your personal opinion, that here in Hampton County we are um, doing everything we can to secure our schools and protect our kids?
We're doing what we can, but you can always do a lot better.
Okay, so having said that, do you know what our procedures are now
Well,
for an active shooter in a school?
yes. If we have a, God forbid, if we have an active shooter, um, when first responders and law enforcement arrive, you grab whoever you go and you go to the threat. The way it should be, right? Wherever the shootings is taking place, it's the job of law enforcement to put your life in danger to protect those kids.
All right, so what do you think you would implement, or if you would change anything to make things better? Because, like you said, there's more that we can do. What are some of your ideas of things we could do?
The obvious, you have to go with the obvious. The obvious, we need to train more. We've got to train more. The more you train, the better you can be prepared. We talked about shooting at the range more than one time a year. We need to train for this event more than one time a year. Train, train, train. So when it happens, muscle memory is, I need to go to the threat. I don't care if I got one person with me. Let's go and let's stop that man from killing these kids.
Right. So, all right, this is going to be a good question for you to answer. I've asked it to everybody. You and I both have had entry team, SWAT team training. I've been in the military. Do you think that our average officer on the street has the training or even the mindset to go into that situation and go through a door where there's a guy with a high-powered rifle ready to kill you?
I don't think so. That's a tall task.
Right.
Let's just put that out. We'll be asking people to literally, the chances of you surviving that is going to be, maybe slim or 50-50 if best. So you not only do you have to have the right tactics, mentally you have to be prepared for that. And it all becomes to who you are as a man. And we have got to get the right people in place. And I think if you train them properly, let them see what they are, what can happen, and if you're trained, like you said, a guy with really good tactics, he'll be a little bit more confident in doing that. If it happened right now, I'm confident enough, and I know you are too, and it all because of the level of training that I have. I'm going in. The same way that federal officer went in this shooting that just happened in Texas. It was Texas, yeah. The level of training, it gave him that confidence to go in, and he actually neutralized the suspect.
So training is the big thing.
Training. We have got to get these guys trained properly, and it's going to elevate your mind. It's going to give you that confidence to be able to, I'm going in. Because the tactics that you have and the ability to stop that threat.
All right, the other criticism that we're seeing, I guess, now is notifying parents in a situation like that. An incident at the school, what are your thoughts on, is that something the sheriff's office needs to do, law enforcement in general? How are we going to do a better job of keeping our parents informed of situations like that?
Well, now, to me, because of my prior experience, and you and I actually been in some of the same training with these active shooters, it's a combination of all people, from the school system, Department of Social Service, law enforcement, EMS. It's a combination of everybody coming together and coming up with the right plan. This is how we're going to do it. I don't think law enforcement should be alone with that. You should use all the resources because it takes a community to adapt to that kind of situation. And in an event of something like that, we need to be together similar to that training we have. We had all those people involved with the training that we had with the active shooter.
All right. Now, lastly, I'm going to ask this. I posted something on social media earlier this week, I think it was. I thought long and hard about some ways that we can better secure our schools. I know there's a bunch of different things that can be put into place, but I just had one idea, and I want to get your input on it. If you only have one entry point to a school, so you've got one access in and out, and you take an armed U.S. veteran and place them at that door. Now, your SROs are there. That's not to take away from the SRO. But just like you said, the SRO's jobs have changed. They're supposed to protect the school. And they need to educate the kids. They're disciplinarians. So they have a lot of roles. So they may not be there all the time.
They cannot be at the door.
So what is your thoughts on deputizing or working with some type of organization that would place veterans at that front door to guard it? And then they also have the training like you and I are talking about to go into a door if someone was to get in. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's funny you said that. A gentleman asked me that a couple of days ago, Pastor Jim Brown, familiar with him. And my thoughts to him, and just like I'm about to tell you, the United States, we spend a lot of money in protecting our court systems, our state judges and our federal judges. If you go to a federal courthouse right now, it's similar to what you're saying. It's a single entry point. You can only go through that. And before you get there, they have the bulletproof glasses, that they have camera system. When you go to that entry point, if you mean bad, they will know you up to no good. So therefore, you have trained professionals. They have really good, they're not actually marshals, but they are hired by the Marshal Service. They are highly trained. They're in blue coats to represent the court, but they are highly trained, skilled officers. Mostly retired law enforcement, whether they're federal or state, that are highly trained to be able to, whatever comes their way, they'll be able to address that threat. You have to go through a system where you have to scan everything. I'm a federal officer. I can't even carry a weapon in there. Those are the kind of things that our government, along with the school system and the government, we need to come together to get the funding so we can be able to protect our schools like we do our federal courthouses or our state courthouses. I think that's the answer. Whether or not you use veterans or you hire people who are trained for that purpose, that sole purpose is when you come to this school, you got to come through this one point. I'm going to know who you are before you get there. And if you come in here with bad intentions, we're going to meet you with bad intentions. It's going to save our kids, and it's going to save people, even the kids from coming to school with guns. Because at the federal courthouse, I'm a federal law enforcement officer. I can't carry my weapon in there. It should be the same thing in a school when it comes to the kids. Right. So if you do it that way, you cannot go wrong in protecting our kids. It's cost effective. It's going to cost money because you're talking about 7 schools here in Hampton County.
I think I counted 11, and and my plan was, and this was just an idea, but if we have 11 schools, so you need 11 veterans per day. It's less than 300 veterans I'm talking about volunteer. I would volunteer a day a month to go stand guard at one of the front doors of any one of the 11 schools. And I think you would have more than enough veterans that would be willing to do that. Just an idea.
Well, the thing is, we're talking about it. And just like we talked earlier, it's all about communication. You talk about it and then come up with the idea and then you do it. But you do the talking and you communicate together and what we can do. It probably have tons of ideas, but you have to talk about it. But every idea is a good idea. But the ultimate goal is to protect and safeguard our kids, who is probably our most precious resources that we have here in the United States or in the county.
Right. Well, I appreciate you sitting down with me, and I'm gonna give you a chance to address the audience here and just tell them anything you want to tell them before we wrap up.
Well, I am who I am, Jake, citizen of Hampton County, born and raised here in Hampton County. 3rd grade, it came to me like a lightning bolt. I knew what I wanted to do was to serve as a sheriff. When I graduated from high school, they had the crystal ball, and one of the females that was doing it, she said, in 30 years, Chauncey Solomon will be the sheriff of Hampton County. That is crazy for me to be in this race, and I can literally see it. God is the ultimate judge. He will have you where you need to be. So I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a Christian. I've done everything up to this point to prepare myself. If the citizen, if you choose me, you won't go wrong. Because I promise you this, and I speak from the heart with conviction. I believe I'm the best candidate. I believe I'm prepared for this. I just need you to come out and vote. I want to thank my wife who supported me. The sleepless nights that I've been going through, she's right here with me. So it's a big deal to go through an election, but I'm prepared. It's not for the weak, just like this job is not for the weak. I'm ready. I just need you to vote for me on June 14th.
Appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Thank you.